Welcome to Chopping Board Economics, where cooking brings economics alive. I'm Peter Ormosi from the University of East Anglia. Join me for an episode of Everyday Economics, explained through some of my favourite recipes. Hi, today's recipe is a courgette dip. It's a simple recipe, but it gives me an opportunity to explain what IKEA furniture and homemade dips have in common. Dips provide a great source of ideas to turn almost any vegetable into a delicious spread, and various versions of it exist in every cuisine. It's also very easy to introduce an extra tweak or add an extra ingredient to make something slightly different. I literally never make the same dip twice. It's so easy to experiment and it's so difficult to get it wrong. Right, it's the middle of August when I'm recording this, so we have an abundance of courgettes in our garden. Why do we grow our own courgettes? Well, that's a very good question. Let's see if I can answer it. We grow a lot of our own vegetable. This includes 4 or 5 courgette plants this year. They require planting, some digging, weeding, and occasionally, even in Britain, some watering. I would say that tending for our 4 or 5 courgette plants adds up to around 4 hours work throughout the whole year. Given my income as an academic, that's around £100 worth of my time. The 4 or 5 plants yield, on average, around 12 kilos of courgettes. If I went to the supermarket, the same amount of courgettes would cost me around £22. So it seems that we lose almost £80 every year growing our own courgettes. Moreover, gardening means that we're not doing something else, such as working, reading, playing with the children, traveling, or making YouTube videos. It would appear that based on financial incentives only, it's a very silly idea to grow your own. Luckily, despite what economists used to assume about people, financial incentives are not the only ones that motivate our behavior. Right, so if money isn't the only thing that matters, what else? Before I explain, let's look at our ingredients. First of all, you're going to need some courgettes. Making a courgette dip is a great way of getting rid of your monster-sized courgettes. You're also going to need a medium-sized onion, 2 cloves of garlic, a teaspoon of tahini, a teaspoon of paprika, some lemon juice, and some seasoning. Now, all of these ingredients you can buy in your supermarket, but you'd be surprised just how many people are growing at least one of them at home. Home-growing fruit and veg is increasingly common. Around 1 in 5 UK households grows some sort of fruit and 1 in 4 grows some sort of vegetable. In the US, more than 1 in 3 households grows some sort of fruit or veg, and millennials are a strong driver of the increasing trend. But hang on, didn't I just say that I lose money if I grow my own? Is it possible that so many people get it wrong? Well, first of all, people do their food gardening in their leisure time, so it doesn't make much sense to compare it with how much we're earning. And as a leisure activity, it has substantial benefits. First, it's a great way to unwind after a stressful week at work. Second, we do not use chemicals, which is great as we're in full control of what goes in our food. And third, it tastes better. At least that's how it feels, thanks to the IKEA effect. Knowing that the food on our table is a direct result of my 2 hands' work is one of the most satisfying thoughts. I recall assembling some flat-packed IKEA furniture, hardly the pinnacle of carpentry, yet out of 2 similar wardrobes, one built in a factory and the other assembled by me, the latter one would have a higher value for me. Financially, buying courgettes for £1.90 per kilo seems like the clear winner, but the fact that I produce them makes my courgettes much dearer to me. Researchers who coined this behavioural bias, the IKEA effect, noted that labour alone can be sufficient to induce greater liking for the fruits of one's labour. This explains the popularity of products that require at least a small input from its buyer, such as an IKEA furniture. But IKEA isn't the only example. After the Second World War, cake mix was introduced to make baking more convenient for the American housewife. People loved the convenience and cake mix sales rocketed after the war. But the success soon stalled around the 50s. The reason? Housewives didn't feel part of the cooking anymore. Mixing water and powder just wasn't enough. And so came the icing on the cake, very literally. Icing of a multitude of different colours and decorations were introduced, and sales rocketed again. Housewives were happy as they were creating something, and the product, the cake, meant a lot more this way. Making a courgette dip is really simple. First of all, chop the courgette, chop the onion, and crush the garlic. Then put the onion in a frying pan with some oil and simmer it for a couple of minutes. Mix in the paprika, add the courgette and the garlic and cook it slowly for about 20 minutes until the courgettes are soft. Then take it off the heat, put it in a bowl, blend it or mash it, add some tahini, some lemon juice and some seasoning. Mix it all together and you're done. Right, so I've just made a courgette dip using homegrown ingredients. It feels great, but what does all this home production mean for the economy? The Ikea effect makes us produce more things. And this isn't only about growing vegetable or cooking, but everything around your home. Whilst the Ikea effect seems to be an innate bias in us, there are other drivers of home production, such as how much we value doing other things, the performance of the economy, the cost of hiring people to do our household work, or the availability of YouTube DIY videos. Home production is a large part of the economy. Ironically, it's not included when we talk about the size of the economy. Household production is around 26% of total GDP in the US and around 50% in the UK or Germany. Not accounting for this makes countries with high home production look relatively poorer. I personally keep doing it. Why? I think it makes us better humans. My favourite example is the involvement of our kids in food gardening. Tending for a plant requires passion and perseverance for a goal that is way ahead in the future. It's very difficult to work towards long-term goals, and it's even more difficult for kids. Involving our children in home growing develops their passion, perseverance, vision and hope, the main components of grit. Why is grit so important? Well, studies that followed children over years of growing up and even into their adulthood found that grit had a more positive impact than IQ when it came to children's performance in final year tests, their income in later life, or even their lifestyle choices. Specialization is great, and I wouldn't like to be 100% self-sustainable, but every now and then it feels good to make something on your own, even if it's something as simple as a courgette dip. Right, I think it's time to serve what we've just made. You can have it as a dip, or simply spread it on a slice of toast. Enjoy!